getting stuck is very common as a part of the healing journey, and you're not alone, okay? And it's especially common for people who deal with shame, because one of the things that shame will do is it sends you the message that you're fundamentally flawed, you're fundamentally broken, and it will cause you to shame yourself out of the healing process. It'll cause you to give up on yourself because you begin to believe that you are the shame, that because there's something wrong with you, you'll never be able to change. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Permission to Love podcast. I'm your host, Jerry Henderson, and I'm so grateful that you're here. Listen, this podcast is designed to help you have a healthier relationship with yourself. So I got a question for you. How are you doing with you? How's that relationship going? It's the most important relationship that you have in your life, right? And I continue to remind you of that because we can get so darn distracted about thinking about everything else external of us, right? Our spouse or our partner, our boss, what's going on in the economy, what's going on in politics. We just can blame everything else. And what happens when we do that is we start to get stuck. We get stuck because all of our focus is external, when actually what we really need to be working on is our relationship with ourselves, how we see ourselves, feel about ourselves, and the challenges that we're dealing with internally. Because when we get this relationship right, I talk about this a lot, when we get this relationship, our relationship with ourselves right, everything else in our lives begins to transform. And that's why I'm so passionate about this work, because I truly believe that if you can get your relationship with yourself right and do self-transformation work, you're going to see results in every area of your life. Your relationships are going to show up differently. The way that you show up at work is going to be different. You're going to stop self-sabotaging who you are and what you're capable of because you believe in yourself. You know what you're able to do, and you've started to remove those limiting beliefs and those blockages in your life because you've started learning how to love, accept, and be your own biggest champion and cheerleader, okay? So I want to encourage you, I want to remind you, keep working on that relationship with yourself. You know what? And if you haven't started working on your relationship with yourself, it's still more of just a theory for you. I want to throw out a challenge for you. Take the next 90 days and really focus in on your relationship with yourself. Take 90 days and don't blame anything externally. Don't look at anything as a problem that's external or outside of you, and take that time and really go within, really look at how you can improve your relationship with yourself. And then I'd love to hear from you on how that's gone after 90 days of really committing to that. I'd love to hear from you on how that process has gone for you and what you see different as a result of that, okay? So feel free to email me at jerry@jerryhenderson.org. Love to hear from you on how that process is working for you. Now, if you're enjoying this podcast and it's really helping you in your journey, don't forget to subscribe or to follow and to turn on those reminders, okay? Because that's going to get you notified when new episodes come out. Also, if you know somebody who could benefit from this work about how to heal their relationship with themselves, I want to encourage you to share this podcast with them. You never know the difference that it could make in their life, just like it's made a difference in your life. Now, one more thing. If you've not yet had a chance to rate or review the podcast or to give it a thumbs up, then I want to invite you to take a moment to do that, because that's going to continue to broaden the reach of this podcast. So thank you. Thank you for taking your time to do that. I want to take a moment and highlight a special partner with the Permission to Love podcast, and it is Sleep Reset. I don't know about you, but I really have struggled with getting a good night's sleep. And this is very common among those of us who have experienced trauma, who have dealt with the inner critic and all of the stress and kind of the red alert that we hold in our system. And the Sleep Reset has been a really great tool at helping people get a better night's sleep. It's been studied by Stanford, and it just has a lot of credible research that goes into this program that they offer. And the uniqueness about it is that you actually get assigned to a sleep coach. So it's not just about, white noise in the background, even though it offers all these tools that'll help you. It really gets customized to what you need and the unique challenges that you have in getting a good night's sleep. For me, I really struggled with falling asleep and staying asleep. I'd, all of a sudden crash out really hard, but 15 minutes later, wake up, stressed, panicked, and then take another hour to get back asleep. And then I'd toss and turn in the middle of the night, and I'd wake up in the morning with this anxiety. And so sleep was a really big challenge for me. And if it is for you too, I want to encourage you to make the investment in yourself and check out Sleep Reset. You'll find a link in the show notes of this episode, and you can learn more information about the program and actually get signed up. Now, a few minutes ago, I mentioned getting stuck or being stuck. So today in this podcast episode, I want to address that topic. What do you do when you're stuck in your healing journey, and how can you get unstuck? Now, I want to start out with saying that getting stuck is very common as a part of the healing journey, and you're not alone, okay? And it's especially common for people who deal with shame, because one of the things that shame will do is it sends you the message that you're fundamentally flawed, you're fundamentally broken, and it will cause you to shame yourself out of the healing process. It'll cause you to give up on yourself because you begin to believe that you are the shame, that because there's something wrong with you, you'll never be able to change. And so you get frustrated, you get fatigued, you get lost in how to take next steps. So we're going to talk about all of that here in just a little bit, but I want you to understand that you're not alone in that. So don't shame yourself for being stuck right now. If you feel stuck and you can't figure out how to go forward, that's okay. We've all been there. I've been there, and I will be there again. It's just a part of the process. And today I hope to give you some tools that'll help you get unstuck in your current situation, and then those tools will help serve you in the future when you get stuck again, okay? So let's set that expectation that it's normal to get stuck, you are going to get stuck, and what you need are a set of tools that help you get unstuck when you find yourself in that place, all right? So let's talk about why we do get stuck. I think there's 5 primary reasons why we get stuck, and I just want to go through them really quickly. The first reason is that we have a lack of awareness. We're not sure what we actually need to work on. We've gotten to a certain place and we're not even sure what we need to do next, and our awareness is clouded, and so we can't see the forest for the trees, and so we're trying to figure out what to do, but we don't have enough awareness at this point in our journey to know exactly what we need to work on. So it really comes down to I don't know what to do next, and I feel stuck. The second reason is around a lack of knowledge or a lack of tools per se. So you may be aware of what you need to do, you're aware of what next steps you want to take, but you're not sure how to take those next steps. You're not sure what tools will help you get to that next level or to deal with that behavior. You're not sure how to deal with that trigger. You know that's a trigger in your life. You're aware of it, but you're not quite sure what tools you need to implement in order to make that happen. So you lack information or you lack knowledge, so you're stuck. I like to compare this to knowing that you want to go to a certain city, but you just don't have a roadmap on how to get there. So you can't move forward because any movement is just going to cause you to basically go in circles, or you're guessing on what direction to go. And that can become very frustrating. Now, another reason we get stuck is we have a sense of feeling overwhelmed. I mean, we may know what to do, we may have some tools in order to do it, but we just feel so overwhelmed and it feels so scary to get started, or we have so many options of tools and things that we could do. And so what often happens with people when they feel so overwhelmed is they just don't take any action. They get into analysis paralysis. They're looking at every single option, every single possibility, every single outcome. And, well, if I do this, then this could happen. But what if I make the wrong decision? All of that is a sign that you're just overwhelmed. And that sense of being overwhelmed is going to keep you stuck. Now, another reason you might be stuck is because you're tired. You're just worn out from all of the work of healing, of trying to transform your life, and you find that a lot of the things that you're trying to do aren't working. And so you're getting burned out on the healing journey and you just feel really tired. Now, it is important that when you're tired, you do rest, okay? Because the work of healing our relationship with ourselves or self-transformation is like anything else. You're going to need breaks from time to time, right? We can't live every single minute of our day of trying to do self-improvement. It's going to get overwhelming, and you're going to get into a space where you're constantly looking for things that are wrong with you, and you can get addicted to that, as we've talked about in another episode, of always feeling like there's something about you that you need to fix. So if this is you, that you've gotten tired as a part of the journey, you might need to do a couple of things. Number one, you might need to recognize that right now you need to rest, and that's okay, and you're not actually stuck. You just need a break. You just need a little bit of a recovery. Now, if on the other hand, what you're finding is that you keep trying things and nothing seems to work, and as a result of that, you're getting fatigued and you're getting exhausted with continuing to try to come up for water, but you never seem to be able to catch your breath and nothing that you're trying is actually working, you might be tired, you might be worn out because of a lack of progress. There's a great proverb that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, okay? That when we keep hoping for a better life and we keep hoping for change, but every time we try it, we fall short or it doesn't work, that hope of a better life keeps getting deferred, and eventually our heart gets sick or it gets heavy, it gets worn out, and we're just too darn tired. And at that point, we're in danger of fully giving up on our journey. And so what we want to do is step back and reevaluate, and we want to do some of the things that I'll be talking about here in just a moment, okay? But hang in there and realize that you might be tired because you need rest, but you also might be tired because you're just frustrated because nothing's working and that change just seems constantly elusive to you. Now, the final reason I'll talk about that causes us to get stuck is limiting beliefs. We have these limiting beliefs that we're coming up against, and we keep feeling like we're hitting a wall. And those limiting beliefs will often look like there's something fundamentally wrong with me, I'm unworthy of good things, I'm unworthy of healing, I'll never be able to change, other people can change, but I can't. They were able to heal because of XYZ reasons, but I can't because of XYZ. Listen, this is so absolutely common, and it's something that I carried for years, the feeling that I was uniquely broken, and because of that unique brokenness, everybody else was going to be able to heal. Everybody else deserved to be able to heal, but not me, right? Because I was so close to my brokenness that that's all I could see. You might be dealing with that, right? You might be in that space where you feel so uniquely broken and you have all these limiting beliefs as to why you can't change, that's keeping you stuck. And I like to talk about limiting beliefs as almost like you've got a bungee cord strapped around your waist, and every time you try to move forward, that limiting belief, you start to feel that backward momentum. Those voices start to creep in, and then all of a sudden you find yourself sitting back down, giving up and not making progress because that belief becomes so overwhelming for you, and it's hardwired in your subconscious. And that's a lot of the work that I do with people in coaching, is helping that subconscious narrative change and helping get rid of those limiting beliefs and allowing you to see that that's what they are, limiting beliefs, and you can move forward, and that just because you have a limiting belief doesn't mean that it's true, okay? But those limiting beliefs are going to keep you stuck because they're running in the background as an auto program that's just playing out its narrative. And people wonder why they can't make progress, and they get so frustrated as to why they go back into the same patterns and deal with the same issues. It's because there's a program that's running, and the key is to get in there, rewire it, and reprogram those beliefs into something that is more true, and it's going to serve you on your journey. Now, with all of that in mind as to why we get stuck and what are some of the reasons, and of course I haven't covered all of them, I've just covered some of the common ones, some of the ones that I used to deal with and some of the ones that people I work with deal with. So those are just a few of the common reasons as to why we get stuck. So how do we get unstuck? Today I want to highlight a partner of the Permission to Love podcast, and it's the Reframe app. And the Reframe app is a highly researched, highly credible app that helps you if you're trying to change your relationship with alcohol or you're trying to get sober. It provides all kinds of motivational tools, resources, ways for you to track your sobriety, engage in community, and so it's a fantastic tool. So if you're interested in that and you're needing some support on your journey of sobriety or changing your relationship with alcohol, you can simply see the show notes in this episode in order to get a free trial to use the app. So how do we get unstuck? Well, the best way that I know how and the fastest way that I know how to get unstuck is to ask for help, to be willing to ask for help. Now, I do want to make a note here that a lot of people have a limiting belief around asking for help. They believe that they're not worthy to ask for help. They believe that when they ask for help, that people are going to see or think that there's something wrong with them or think really bad towards them, that they have to ask for help, or they believe that they're bothering people to ask them for help. None of that's true. Those are all limiting beliefs. And the truth is, everybody who's made progress, everybody who has been winning in their journey of healing has been asking for help along the way. Whether or not they tell you that or not, it is absolutely the truth. For me, I have had to ask for help so many times. I had to overcome that narrative that I had, that limiting belief that me asking for help meant that there was something bad or wrong about me, that I couldn't figure it out. And I remember when I made the decision to go to rehab, I had to make that decision to ask for help. I knew that. I knew that I was not going to be able to figure it out on my own. I had tried over and over and over. And I remember when I made that decision to ask for help, to call a friend, to have them come over, to help me get checked into rehab. And I remember going into rehab just very desperate, that I was willing to do anything they told me to do. I actually told my therapist that if you tell me to go stand in the corner on my head and that's going to get me sober and keep me sober, I will do that every single day that I'm here. And then I remember also having to tell my employer that I was in rehab. Now, I was working for a not-for-profit at that time. It was a Christian ministry, and telling people in that space that I was dealing with alcoholism and that I was going to be in rehab for 30 days. Geez, oh Pete, man, you talk about being scared. You talk about, having to overcome that belief that me telling somebody that was going to cause them to look at me differently and, judge me, and that from that moment on, I was going to be seen as a broken person. That was a big barrier for me to overcome, all the shame that went with that. But I was so desperate to get help that I knew that I needed to do that. I needed to cross that bridge. And actually crossing that bridge was a big part of the healing, being willing to be vulnerable enough to go, I've got some real big problems here that I need to deal with. So I've been there. I've been in that place where I've had to ask for help, and I've had to expose the fact that I needed to ask for help, and I needed to let other people know that that was the place that I was at in life. Now, let me tell you something. When I told my employer that, the people that really mattered, okay, they met me with empathy. They met me with compassion. They met me with love. They said, take the time that you need, get healthy, heal your relationship with yourself, and come back when you're ready. And I got to tell you that that's actually what happens more often than not. You see, we have this narrative that if I ask for help, I'm going to be rejected, I'm going to be labeled, etc., etc. But what we usually find is that most of the time we're met with empathy, we're met with compassion, okay? So if you're dealing with those limiting beliefs, I want to raise my hand and say that was me too. And it was important for me to overcome those limiting beliefs so that I could get the help that I needed to get. So how can asking for help us get unstuck? Well, the first reason is because we have blind spots. We have things that we're totally unaware of. I mean, I don't care how self-aware you are, you still have blind spots. I've got them. Everybody's got them. And it's okay that you have them. But the real key is to have somebody or to invite somebody into your journey who can help you see your blind spots. Because here's the thing. You're so close to some of the issues that you have. You can't make sense of them sometimes. You can't tease them apart enough to see really what that issue is. And working with somebody who's trained and has gone through the process of helping people can help tease some of that apart and can help bring a blind spot into our awareness. I mean, I can't tell you how many times in working with a coach and working with a therapist that has really given me those aha moments, right? Those truth bombs where all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I didn't see that. I didn't know. I wasn't aware of that. And then when it came into my consciousness and I became aware of it, it shifted something inside of me. Okay. So when somebody shines light on an area that we're blind to, it can become a real aha moment for us. And it can get us unstuck because it can become the moment where we really see what's going on with us and it frees us. It cuts a cord, right? That has kind of kept us bound and it allows us to start moving forward because now we have awareness about something that we actually need to work on. Now, the second thing that asking for help or working with somebody will do for us is it'll help us understand the limiting beliefs that we have, okay? Our limiting beliefs can get so buried within us and they're so autopilot for us that we don't recognize that they're there and we don't see them as a limiting belief. And when somebody can point out that that's a limiting belief that we're carrying, it can help us understand why we keep playing out certain patterns in our life. So for example, when I was first starting my healing journey, I went to somebody and was asking them, why do I keep choosing these toxic relationships? And why do I keep getting myself into situations that are so painful for me and are so destructive for me? And the person looked at me and they said, you have a belief, you have a limiting belief, and you think that punishment is corrective. And when they first said that to me, and I've mentioned this before, but when they first said that to me, I resisted it, right? My limiting belief came right up against it. And I said, well, of course I do. Of course punishment is corrective. And that person began to unpack for me how punishment is not corrective. Now, a lot of that thinking came from my upbringing as a child, and it also came from my religious background, some of the religious trauma that I had experienced. And so I had this belief that punishment was corrective, and so therefore I would put myself into situations where I would suffer, where I would be punished, or I would be treated in a way that I thought I was worthy of. So I was inviting pain and punishment into my life because I believed that that's what I was worthy of, one. And number two, I had this subconscious limiting belief that if I had experienced enough pain, enough punishment, enough grueling, pain in this life, that somehow that was going to keep me in shape or somehow that was going to cause me to change. Now, I would have never, ever understood or seen that limiting belief. Now, I would have never understood or seen that limiting belief, or I might have not seen it at that time, and it may have taken me years before I understood that limiting belief if that person hadn't pointed that out to me, and that person would have never been able to point that out to me if I wasn't willing to go to them and ask for help, okay? So we all have limiting beliefs, and we need people to help us see those limiting beliefs are there, and also understand the source of those limiting beliefs so that we can make progress and begin to heal them so that those limiting beliefs aren't holding us back anymore. Now, the third thing that asking for help does for us is it provides us some accountability, okay? We can work with somebody who can hold us accountable to some of the changes that we've decided to make. Now, accountability can also be really scary for people who are struggling with shame. And I often say that people who are dealing with shame need a different coaching style or a different therapy style. They need somebody who's not going to label shame as accountability. And that's often what happens, right? They say that they're holding somebody accountable as a part of their healing journey, but what they're actually doing is shaming them, beating them up, making them feel bad about themselves. And that's often why people give up on therapy or give up on coaching, is because they're ashamed to show up at the next session because they haven't done the things that they committed to in the last session. And so they have this sense of embarrassment or shame or failure. So they start calling out, missing out on the appointments, and they really sabotage themselves or shame themselves out of the healing process. So if you're in that boat, I want to encourage you to find somebody who can work with you with compassion, that can understand that that's one of the things that you're dealing with, and be able to hold you accountable in a way that's filled with compassion, empathy, and that'll actually help you overcome the reasons why you're not following through, why you're sabotaging the work, and can do that in a spirit that really helps you feel safe and empowered instead of shamed, belittled, etc. And here's just a little tip for you. A lot of people who've experienced trauma will actually seek out coaches or counselors who use the same energy that they were once traumatized by, okay? The shame, the criticism, the belittlement, because it feels comfortable to their system, because that's what somebody used to motivate them in the past. Now, all of a sudden, they're seeking that out, and they're in a cycle that is designed to sabotage them. It is designed to get them to shame themselves out. And there's a whole layer of limiting beliefs that go with that we'll talk about in another episode. But I want you to be mindful. When you choose a coach and you choose a counselor, find somebody who can meet you with empathy and compassion. Now, that might feel very uncomfortable to your system in the beginning because you're not used to being motivated by kindness and compassion and love. But I want to let you know, in the long run, love, compassion, kindness, empathy are the greatest motivators. And you're going to need some time to get used to it and transition from a thinking that I really need somebody to kick my ass in order to get me in shape to I really need somebody who can help understand what has happened and understand with empathy what I've been dealing with. Because a lot of the work is meeting the parts of you that got stuck at a young age. And how do we want to meet that part of ourselves? We want to meet it with love. We want to meet it with empathy. And we want to meet it with compassion. And yes, we also want to have accountability, but accountability in a way that motivates instead of demotivates. Now, another really important thing that happens when we ask for help is we can be met with empathy. When we're working with the right person, the right coach or the counselor who can meet us with empathy. And they don't shame us. They don't judge us. They simply hold space with compassion. Because one of the biggest things about getting unstuck is realizing that there's nothing wrong with you, that you're not alone in it, that you're not the one person on this planet that's not going to be able to heal. And when you work with somebody who can meet you with empathy, it really is a game changer because you begin to feel seen. It begins to provide you with hope, knowing that if they could change and others can change, that you also can change. And that feeling that there's something wrong with you can begin to get washed away because you're seeing that you're not the only one who deals with it. I remember times when I'd be working with a counselor and they would point out the fact that, yeah, that's a pretty common thing that you're saying, Jerry. That's a pretty common struggle, and you're not the only one who's dealing with that. And there was a sense of empathy and compassion and space being held for me that allowed me to open up because I no longer felt that deep sense of shame that I was the only one. I was this super broken person who was dealing with all this stuff. Being met with empathy allows you to see, to feel, and to know that you're not alone, okay? And when you feel alone in your healing journey, that is one of the worst places to be. And when you feel like you're the only one who's dealing with this and you're like the worst person, et cetera, that is such a tough place to be. And asking for help can be a real antidote to those feelings. Now, the last thing I'll talk about and how asking for help can be such a game changer is by going to somebody who was once where you are or is where you want to be, okay? Because when you find somebody who's where you want to be or was where you are, they can provide you with a roadmap of how to get where you want to be. So let's go back to that car analogy and trying to get from point A to point B. You have a city that you have in mind and you're not sure how to get there. And if you do know how to get there, there may be 3 options on how to get there and you might feel overwhelmed, etc. What working with somebody can do is they can help show you that this is a path that can serve you based off of your unique needs and your unique story. And any good coach or counselor is going to customize that to what you're going through. And so what you want to do is be able to identify somebody who can help you with a roadmap to say, here are some steps that you could take, and they can walk with you on that journey so that you don't feel alone, you don't feel overwhelmed, because you've got support in the process. And one of the things I always like to say to people is that you can't steer a parked car, right? So when we talked about being overwhelmed and you don't do anything at all, there's no movement, right? And so you're frozen. So what somebody who has a roadmap or who can provide you with a roadmap can do is help you get moving, all right? And then because the car is moving, you can begin to steer it. And that person can work with you on steering. And then you can learn to trust yourself in order to steer the car and make those little micro adjustments. And the hope is, as those little micro adjustments get made and you wind up getting in the direction that you want to go, you're going to begin to trust yourself. Any good coach or counselor is going to always point you back to yourself. They're not going to create dependencies. They're going to create an environment where you begin to heal and you begin to trust yourself and you begin to make the decisions because you have the tools now that can allow you to make progress and learn to trust yourself. So I want to encourage you, if you are stuck, ask for the help that you need. You're worthy of it. And what you'll find is it's not as scary as you think it is. You'll find that you're not the only one who's in the boat that you're in, and you'll give yourself the opportunity to get unstuck. And here's an exercise that might help with that. I want to invite you to consider writing a letter to the younger version of you, okay? And to say to that younger version that you're going to do what you wish was done for you as a child. And you're going to ask for the help that you need to make sure that you don't stay stuck in your healing journey, that you don't stay stuck where you are, right? Because so many of us wish that somebody would have been a voice for us as a child when we were suffering, when we were hurting, when we were going through the things that we went through. You can be the voice to ask for the help that they once needed by asking for the help that you need now. Now, another exercise you can do is you can have your future self write a letter to your present self, thanking your present self for being brave enough to get unstuck by asking for help. Because that future self that you want to become has gotten there by getting unstuck, and the way that they got unstuck was by asking for help. So if we want a better future, if we want a better relationship with ourselves that then unfolds a better life for ourselves, we've got to start by asking for help, getting ourselves unstuck, okay? So if we're serious about getting unstuck, we'll be serious about asking people who can help us get unstuck to help us get unstuck, okay? Now, if you need some additional resources or you need some help in your journey, I want to encourage you. You can go to my website at jerryhenderson.org. You'll find some free resources that I have there. You'll also find some information about the coaching that I offer. And I've recently expanded my coaching program, so I am taking on new clients. So if you want to learn more about working one-on-one together, you can set up a free discovery call. We can spend some time together exploring what some of your goals are and begin to put a roadmap in place to get you where you want to be, okay? Now, if you've not had a chance yet to pick up my book, Returning, a collection of meditations and reflections on self-love and healing, I want to encourage you to do so because it can be a point of inspiration for you, right? In those moments where you do feel stuck, you can flip through it, look at some passages that can give you inspiration for your journey. You can pick it up by seeing the show notes in this episode, or you can simply go to Amazon or wherever books are sold. Well, thank you for joining another episode of the Permission to Love podcast. And if you haven't heard it recently, or if you haven't said it to yourself, I want to say it to you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the work that you're doing. And I mean that so sincerely. You are doing amazing work, and I'm proud of you. And I want to invite you to tell yourself today that you're proud of yourself. You're proud of the work that you're doing. And as I close, I want to remind you, as always, you are worthy of your own love.